In this video, we are hanging out with longbow bow hunter and top competitor Mike Davenport. We discuss his approach to competing, his experiences on the Lancaster Big Stage, and how competing makes him a better bow hunter. Mike has killed more big bucks with his longbow than most, and we discuss his approach to hunting giant whitetails, hunting around the world, and much more. If you like what you are watching, please subscribe to the channel. It really helps a lot. The audio version of this podcast is available anywhere you listen. Now let's get to the show. All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Push Podcast and Videocast. On the mics with me, Mike Davenport, longbow killer and competitor. Brother, what's going on, man?
Hey, buddy. It's good to see you. Thanks for having me on, Matt. I love
Dude.
this.
Yeah, good to see you as well. We got to spend a nice long weekend together at the Barebow Boot Camp. It was a great time a few weeks back.
Yeah, man. And, just hanging around all the guys and being around all the folks that were there. Man, I learned, even though I was a quote unquote mentor, I have a notebook full of stuff.
Yeah,
Just absorbed so much
I
just
know.
from the quality of people that were there and the students too. I know in my groups, I was like, this is a learner environment. I'm not here to teach you. You're here. We're here to learn from each other. And it was a cool experience, man.
It was a
Really
cool
was.
experience. That's one of the things that I go there to film and just to
Right.
capture as much as possible. But I always come away with things to work on, and I always come away a better shooter after those 3 days
Yeah.
spending time with you guys.
Right. And it's another way to pressure test your mindset and shooting because as a mentor for me, I'm shooting with some folks. I'm trying to help them. And, I want to perform well. I want to make sure that I'm tight in how I'm doing stuff.
Sure.
So, when you're doing that, and I think my last group was the Jersey folks. And I kind of could let my guard down. I was taking some bomb shots and missed a couple, but they were like, okay, it's all right,
Yeah.
But I think it's a mindset issue too when you're there and you're part of that collective. The amount of instruction there. I mean, you think about what you get. You're getting, Joel Turner and Tom Clum, and you're there with Dwayne and Fawn and all the other mentors, and you just pick up so much as just an attendee, but also when you're there helping someone else move along their journey,
Sure.
and just a cool experience. And then hanging out at night with you guys in the house and sharing stories. I mean, sitting at the table with Tom Clum, and Joel, picking their brains about elk, which is another obsession of mine, and hearing their stories. And as a Flatlander, those guys live with their elk, so I was all ears. I wanted to hear everything they had to say. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that was probably when I look back at the entire weekend. Like the shooting's great, seeing all the students that are there, catching up with old friends. That's all awesome stuff. But
Yeah.
I think some of my favorite times was sitting around the table, just like listening to your hunting stories. And like midway through all of your hunting stories on like night one, I'm like, dude, I got to get you on the show. Cause the only time I've had you on the show was at Lancaster, and you pop into the podcast booth. We do a quick 20-minute episode about the event and the shoot downs and stuff.
Yeah.
And then that's it. But we don't really get to spend a lot of time like digging into the nitty gritty, because I'm going to share my screen here for the viewers watching this. So guys, if you're listening to this on the podcast audio version, we also have the videocast version of this, and we got a lot of stuff to share. So I wanted to share. You sent me a ton of photos. Like Davenport, you're kind of known in the Push family like as the longbow competitor guy, but
Sure.
dude, you are an absolute stud when it comes to killing big old whitetails with a longbow, man. I mean, look at these pictures, dude. Like, what the
Man, I'm
heck,
blessed.
man? Unbelievable. And the list, like the pictures keep rolling. You sent me so many of them. It just keeps going.
Well, and I wanted to send some when I was a much younger guy, where I
Yeah,
still
look at
had
this one.
hair.
Look at this picture.
Yeah, I think I was 28 whenever I shot that whitetail. Yeah.
There's
So
an
that's
older
from
one. There's a more recent one.
yeah, that's actually in December. That is a really old, great 150-inch 8-point buck from Southern Illinois. So just a tank of a buck,
Dude, so good. So good.
and a
Got your
goat, of
got your
course.
mountain goat, man. Holy crap,
Yeah,
buddy. I can't wait to dig into
yeah.
all this.
I'm blessed to live where I live. I tell people all the time, Tennessee. I learned a lot in Tennessee, but and I hunted whitetails. We'll get into the history of it, but I went to school in a state like Kentucky. Went to college that had great whitetail hunting. It almost flunked me out of school. And then, I moved to Southern Illinois. I married a Southern Illinois girl, and it's like we were having the discussions of moving to Illinois, and I'm like, don't throw me to the briar patch. Like, don't make me move where there are giant whitetails running around. So, and that's, I've had some good luck, and I've hunted some great places, but I've also learned a lot. I cut my teeth in different places, and I think it ripened me and got me ready for the last 20 years, which has been, just basically hunting with a longbow and or in a recurve sometimes, and hunting big whitetails as the main thing I go after.
I'm gonna share also a video here that you sent me on your phone, and this is where you were hoping to have the podcast, and you just have giant whitetail after giant whitetail hanging in this man cave of yours, and then bows.
There's a muley there.
Bows galore.
Yeah, and what's really sad is that I've gotten so lazy with my mounts. Like, I didn't show you my floor, but I have 360-inch deer laying in the floor that they're capped out. Like, I'm not gonna probably put them on the wall. I'll probably do some type of European mount or crown mount, something like that. But yeah, there's several in the floor. Hudson when he came here. He was giving me grief. He's like, dude, you have more dead animals in the floor than most people. And I'm like, it isn't that I'm this wonderful, great hunter, man. I live in Jurassic Park. I really do.
I live in Jurassic Park.
I don't. Yes, I know a thing or two about whitetails, but I'm also very fortunate to hunt in an area where we can get the age structure up to maturity for the most part. So
I love it.
And a mature deer here is going to push, 4.5-year-old deer here is going to push 140. So that's if you can find a 5.5-year-old deer, you're looking, that's kind of what I hunt. I tend to focus my attention to older age class whitetails, and I don't care what they score. Like this year, both of the bucks the one I showed you was a very mature 150-inch deer, but the other one I killed with the bow that I shot at Lancaster, it was like a 6.5-year-old deer, and was just a giant bodied deer that just was not Michael Jordan genetically.
Sure.
Just a really good deer, which I was happy with. I mean,
yeah.
so I think you change, all those trophies are cool, but I think when you get to a point where you've had some success, or maybe, I've been bow hunting for 40 years, I think you look at it and say, it's the experience now. And don't get me wrong, I stone cold want to kill a big buck every time I go out. But I also, I value the experience more. And it's a cat and mouse game that I enjoy, having as many deer as I've got on my wall and in my floor. There are 3 or 4 that just roadhoused me, just beat me down. And then some kid kills it in a fence row with a shotgun.
Right.
Some farmer who never hunts, goes out to hunt meat and kills a 180-inch deer that you've been trying to kill for 4 years. So it's the game. I've had my heart broke so many times on hunting big. You get locked in on one deer, which I love doing. Finding a whitetail that's 3.5, and you go, oh man, if he could make it another year or 2, then he's going to be. And to have that experience where you find the sheds. I think one of those deer on the wall was a drop time buck I shot. He's about 180, probably my best whitetail, really. I found his sheds 2 years. So it's like this history with this deer.
Sure.
And where I killed him was 3 miles from where I found his sheds.
No way.
So, yeah, winter range, where they stage up and where the food is, and then rut range, so it's pretty wild.
Yeah, that's one thing I felt sitting around that table with you, listening to your stories, was like you didn't really harp on the shot or the animal itself. It was more about like the stories leading up to. It was the chase, it was the game, it was the chess match, and like that's where you really emphasized on your stories. I could just hear it in your voice as like the more difficult the challenge, the more excited you would get when you were telling your stories.
For sure. And I think it goes back. I like to write, and so I think storytelling. We talked about this a little bit. How it's changed a little. You know, when I was a kid, the hook and bullet riders that from Field and Stream and Outdoor Life, I just absorbed all that as a young guy. And of course, there's the different medium now. A lot, you know, I love what you do, and I love the presentation that the story you guys tell through video. And I enjoy the cat and mouse. I enjoy the way that you can tell a story, and it really isn't about the end result of a grip and grin with a big buck. It's the what happened in the middle, because if you look at like outdoor TV, a lot of times it's quick story in the beginning, a little bit in the middle, and then you know the shot becomes the focus.
Right.
Now, granted, you know that's a big important part, but to me it's anticlimactic. If I get a big buck within 20 yards and I double lung him, the last 30 seconds of that, although exciting, doesn't really tell the story of what led up to all of that. You know, how many times you got fooled, or better yet, a buck shows up you have never seen before. He's on a 5 mile walk looking for does, and this guy pops up out of nowhere, and you have no idea what he is. And that's a beautiful thing too, because there's a story there as well.
Yeah, I love it, dude. Well, let's start back at the very beginning. Let's just
Sure.
talk a little bit about your upbringing, your schooling, and you know just how you got to where you are right now and what you do for a living. Give me all that.
Oh, sure, yeah, man. I started out obsessed from the get go, from an early age. You know, I'm talking. I can't remember a time where I didn't want to be outside and be in the woods. And I had a little bit of a rough upbringing in the fact that although my family, and especially my dad, was known as an outdoorsman, he he couldn't make the right choices, and
Mhm.
ended up spending most of my life to this point in prison. So
Interesting. I didn't know
I
that about you.
yeah, man, pretty rough upbringing. I had a mom who was solid, hard worker. She raised 3 kids on her own. Allowed me to do my thing as far as hunting goes. You know, so from an early age, I did have a few hunts with my dad here and there. He was known as a great outdoorsman, but just could not keep his act together. And so, had a great grandfather who was a renowned houndsman, and so um, I got to go on some coon hunts when I was little. You know, all night affairs. They'd spring me out of school on a Friday, and I couldn't wait to get in the woods with a bunch
That's
of coon
awesome.
dogs. So learning how to navigate, you know, through terrain with my great grandfather was amazing, because he had an old car, you know, and it was just he could get out of that car with his compass and flip it open, look at it once, and never look at it again until we were coming out of the woods,
Really.
and just had this woodsmanship about him. So some of that I watched, but I didn't get to really dive into it, because you know he was older, and so it just, you know, a few hunts here and there. But I had this weird dichotomy of my life. I lived in the city during the weekdays, and then which in West Tennessee, so a rural kind of suburb of like Memphis, and then but on the weekends I would go to my grandparents, and so I was a city kid during the week and an obsessed country kid on the weekends, and it allowed me to kind of see both worlds. In my neighborhood, growing up, 7, 8 years old, 9 years old, I had a pellet gun, and I had a bounty, and the ladies, some of the ladies in the neighborhood were like, they would call my mom and say, "Hey, will you send your boy down here? These squirrels are driving me
No
crazy.
way.
They get in my flowers and they eat my pecans." And so I had my ladies who let me squirrel hunt in their yards of all things with a pellet gun. Now that's crazy to think of
That is so
nowadays, but
awesome.
yeah, I mean, and then you could send squirrel tails into MEPS. They made lures, so you could send so many squirrel tails in, and they would send you either free lures or they would send you money. Wasn't very much, but it seemed like a lot, because I wasn't going to eat the squirrel tails, right? I
Sure.
mean, so and then just moving on along, really, I got into rabbit hunting and squirrel hunting. My mom, again, just cut me loose in a lot of ways. She bought me a Stevens 410 single shot. And I'm talking 9 or 10 years old. I'd get dropped off at a woodlot. Different age now, man. I mean, I know with my kids, I was a little bit of a helicopter parent. Like I wouldn't do that with my kids, but I just grew up hunting, and luckily for me, at about age 11, I think in the neighborhood, people realized and recognized that that crazy kid that's setting snare traps in the ditches, is either uncentered or he's actually an okay kid. And one of my best friends in the neighborhood, his dad and he hunted, and they bow hunted too, which was, I mean, it was like wow to me. They were hunting deer, and that might as well be landing on the moon for me at the
Right.
time, just because of my situation. And so his great uncle recognized something and went to my mom and said, "Hey, there's a youth hunt coming up. We'd like to take him hunting." So I already knew how to shoot, and he took me out with a Winchester 94. This guy was the coolest guy on the planet to me because he was like probably my age now. He smoked like unfiltered Camels, drove a beat up Scout, and had a Winchester 94 lever action. And
I
it
mean,
was
that's a pretty
just,
badass dude to me.
it's a pretty badass dude. I mean, as a kid, you're like, and this dude wants to take me hunting. And I promise you to this day, the two hunts that I had with Mr. L.S. Bates was, I still use what he teaches me. Like, move your eyes before you move your head. Just move your eyes and then move your head. And it made perfect sense to the things he told me. So, from there I was a full blown addict, man. Like, my mother used that with sports. I played ball in school, and with hunting, she had control of me because if I got rowdy or got in a little bit of trouble, she would
You ain't
say,
getting out in the woods
"You're
this
not going
weekend.
hunting, and you're deaf. I'm going to tell your basketball coach." And it was like, dude, that was kind of the thing, right? It was like I mean, I still was a rowdy kid, and my brother's a rowdy kid too. So, who went on to be a Green Beret, Special Forces guy, a Delta guy, all that stuff.
Damn.
And then at 16, I got a license, which I could drive my mom's station wagon, and couldn't. And she had bought me a little 25-pound compound, and I couldn't. Can't hunt with that legally. So I saved up some dough and went to the local pawn shop, and they had a Damon Howitt. Back then, compounds were all the rage. They had a Damon Howitt recurve with a quickie quiver, and the quickie quiver didn't have a hood over the broadheads. It was an old school quickie quiver.
Yeah, suicide quiver.
Oh yeah, mismatch arrows. So at 16, I'd already been shooting, and I started shooting some and felt confident enough to go deer hunting. It took me quite a long time to kill a whitetail with a recurve, but also no stand. So I'd seen the old guys like climb up in trees. So my first deer was I was in a limb of a tree standing, and a young doe came by, and I killed my first deer with a bow at 16. So that was 1986. So I'm
Wow,
dating
dude.
myself.
Yeah,
Bad
you are.
way.
I was 2 years old.
That's funny. But yeah, man. So that was another kind of, okay. I really want to be a bow hunter
Right.
now,
Wow.
and it took off. Even in college, playing ball, I had my bow with me. I played at a junior college, and then went on to Murray State to play. But unfortunately, had a couple of knee surgeries, and it kind of ruined that. But it opened the gateway for hunting. I did have so at Murray State, it's it's in Murray, Kentucky, right at Kentucky Lake. Land between the lakes is 15 miles away, and it I had a really good time chasing whitetails, while I was in college, and then stuck around for a year working as a nurse in the ICU. Met my wife, and she accepted full bore what she was getting herself into. So
Yeah,
like,
there's no hiding it.
yeah, I mean, I think we were dating, and it was like a New Year's Day thing, and we were here at her folks' place, and it was snowing and cold and nasty. And after church, I came in and gave her a peck on the cheek, and her parents were there, and I said, "I'm out. I'm going to go hunting." So as soon as I got out the door, her mom looks at her and goes, he's not going to change, right? I mean, that's what you're getting, you know. So
Yeah.
that's what she got, and 30 years of it. So
I love it, man. That's so great. So why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about what you do for a career now? Like you talked
yeah.
about going to school. So what do you do for a living?
So I'm a ER nurse practitioner. I've been a nurse practitioner for 27 years. Started out as an ICU nurse, and I chose the nursing profession kind of in a way. Both of my children are in school. One's in med school, one's in nursing school, and so when they ask me about my career, they're like, "Why did you choose nursing?" And I'm like, "Well, a couple of reasons. I already had a biology degree, and I was working. I couldn't find a job that I wanted to be this wildlife biologist, but you had to have a doctorate, and I was broke. I mean, I had no bread. So I was working in the ER as an orderly, which back then is like a tech. I was drawing blood and doing different stuff. And I'm looking around, and the nurses are working 3 days a week. And it just dawns on me, like, I can work 3 days a week. I can hunt 4 days a week.
Hunt 4.
Why would I not want to do
right.
a profession where I can work 312s? So when my kids ask me, they expect some beautiful answer of me wanting to help mankind. But it actually, it turns into okay. And then both of my children, when I tell that story, they're like, "Yeah, that's about right."
That makes sense. Yeah.
But along the way, I did realize that helping people is an important part of my mindset, and I think that being a nurse, first in the ICU, then in the trauma center. As a trauma center nurse and an ICU too, I saw some pretty rough things, and it pushed me to get more education because I was the first man I was the first man with the Davenport last name to ever graduate high school.
Oh,
so,
wow. Congrats, man. That's amazing.
Yeah, thanks, man. So to graduate high school and go on and do stuff and to have a career, and it's been recession proof. And now I went back and I got a master's degree, worked in the trauma center for 10 years. Which was a great job and great training, but not conducive to family life just because it's just when you have young children, it's just really tough. You're working crazy shifts. And I opened my own family practice, a rural health clinic, and ran it for 15 years. My wife's a nurse, so she was the manager, and we grew this ginormous business, man. We didn't know in a little town that we could have that many patients, so we had to expand, and I hired a doctor. I hired another nurse practitioner, and it was a great job for 15 years. But once my children got older and I didn't necessarily need the nighttime, dad duties so much, I worked out a deal to sell my practice and went back to the emergency room. I've been there for 2.5 years, and I do love it, man. The working in a rural area, it's a critical access hospital, and you have some things that need lots of attention. And we do a lot of transfers and aircraft stuff. And with my background, it just kind of fits.
Because I bet you've seen some shit, huh?
Yeah, man. Good and bad every day, good and bad. But, I think I always tell students that I'm training, and I've been lucky to have 12 great nurse practitioner students that I've worked as, adjunct faculty. And I tell them all the time, you're going to meet people today that are having the worst day of their life. And you got to find a way to be professional, do your job well, even if they're not very nice, you're going to have to find a way to be professional and do your job and to help them on their worst day. And that's a big reason why I stay in the emergency room is that I feel like, having an expertise and having been there, done that in a lot of ways, I can kind of relate to each patient, because I've actually been I'll tell you, I've actually been a trauma patient before. I've been on the other side of the fence and been looking up at people going, oh man, I'm in kind of bad shape. 2011, I fell out of a perfectly good deer stand, 16 feet. And
really, I didn't know this about you.
Oh yeah, man. I got sent to a stand by a friend, and he's like, "Hey man, there's a hang on there. Just go in there." And he didn't know, and he knew that his dad had hung a stand there. What he didn't know is that it hung it there like 9 years ago. So I go in, and it was a screw-in step type hang on, and I always have a safety rope, but I didn't have a tether from ground to height. and hit the platform, put my safety rope around the tree, and as I was putting the rope around the tree, it broke and dumped me, and I impaled my left hand in a screw-in step, and my other hand I grabbed the grates of the stand and was able to hang on with one arm for just a little while to break my fall. But I ended up with some pretty serious injuries. I broke my coccyx, broke my ribs, concussed myself, put a hole in my bowel, open fractures of these three fingers with a tendon repair on my thumb, and then open fractures of these three fingers. So
Dude.
I was a trauma. I know, yeah. And I see it. I've seen it multiple times where people fall and they don't survive. So I was at the bottom of the tree, and the guy who sent me to the stand had heard me. We were only hunting 150 yards apart, and he comes walking over there, and I've got a grin on my face, and he's like, "Dude," because I was messed up. But the reason I was grinning is as soon as I hit the ground, I rocked my hips and did like a trauma survey, primary survey, and went, "Shit, I'm good. I'm okay.
I'm not gonna die." Oh my god, dude.
Yeah, I don't have a broken pelvis.
Right.
I know my ribs are broken, but I can breathe." And so he's like, so he takes me. He's going to get me out of there. And my wife and I were arguing before I left to go hunting, like couples do. I wanted to buy a new tractor, and she just didn't want me to buy a new tractor. You're not buying another tractor. You've got a tractor. So did the slam the door and walk out thing, like, I'm going hunting. So when I call her to tell her that I busted up, the first thing she says is, "This better not be about that tractor."
Oh my gosh.
So I went, "No, honey, it's not about the tractor."
I
I'm
fell
kind
out
of
of a tree
busted
stand.
up. Yeah. So her being a nurse, she's like, also, man, when you're a nurse or you're a nurse practitioner and you have children, we pretty well just say if you're not got a bone sticking through and you're fine, right? So when she first sees me, she looks at me and she goes, "Oh, that don't look so bad." I'm like, "Thanks," It's great. So anyway, after
That's funny.
I think I had 5 surgeries over this thing. So again, getting back to the trauma or the trauma thing, is I've been on that other side of the fence, and so look, you're having your worst day, and for me, it was part embarrassment because here's this guy who's this whitetail hunter, and he falls out of a tree and
Right.
busts himself up, but I was having a bad day, and I worked. I went to the hospital that I don't work at because it was closer, and I got great care, and they took care of me. And there are days I get up, and those injuries bother me, and it's like it makes me, and it also created a fear of heights for a little while, which anytime you have a fall like that, I think it's normal. But I hung a stand in that same tree in January and shot a doe out of it. And I was freaking scared to death the whole time. I text my wife and she's like, "How's it going?" I'm like, "I am freaking scared to death."
You got one hand behind you on the tree at all times.
It was very, for a while there.
Yeah.
It was very trippy. Like I was, but when that doe walked in, I flipped the switch and made a shot, and it broke that trance of maybe being afraid. So when a goat hunt came up, which we can talk about later, that's the most death-defying mental exercise. And are you afraid of heights, or not? A mountain goat hunt will test your mental fortitude as far as heights go, and you have to trust your boots a lot. Which the guy I hunted with, Troy, was like, "Trust your boots." I'm like, "God, trusting some rubber on the bottom of my feet, to
Right.
keep me from ending up in a pile of rubble at the bottom of a 150-foot drop." But so yeah,
yes.
I mean, being a nurse practitioner and working in a rural area in a critical access hospital was kind of the perfect fit for me right now, and I enjoy my job, and there are perks to it because I still only work 3 days a week, and I get the other 4 days to chase whitetails.
Hell yeah, man. I love it. Dude, that's so great. Yeah, you seem fulfilled right now. Every time I see you, you seem happy, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think you go through this. I'm sure you did that. You've done this in your professional career. There are growing pains, and then there's stagnation. There's friction that you have to work through, and then there's some bored days where you have to decide, if this is where you want to be. And I think after doing it for 28 years, and the other thing is in your family life is having that family that centers you and grounds you. I think it's an important part of it. As sportsmen, sometimes we get locked into wild trips and things like that. But I'll have to say, I chose I outkicked my coverage a little bit, with my wife because she's understood that from the get go, and she'll even tell me if I'm being like a complete ass. And she'll either say you need to go to jujitsu and work out some of that frustration, or you need to book a hunt and
Yeah. Get out
go
of
be a
here.
wild man for a week. Because what it does on those especially solo hunts for me, if I'm doing a 10-day solo hunt, man, there's some appreciation when you come off the mountain because you've got water, you've got a toilet that flushes, and you flip on the lights and they work. And you actually get home and you got people who love you, and you look around and you're like, okay, that was it
Yeah.
makes you appreciate things
It
more.
just recalibrates you.
Yeah, it does. And my wife has a funny sense of humor though, man, because there was one time when the kids were little, I did a 10-day solo hunt pre cell phone, and she didn't talk. I went down the mountain to go to a payphone to call her one time during the trip. So I get home and I walk in. There's two little kids, and the house is. I mean, she's just cooking dinner, and she's just this radiant. She's just radiating this beauty. And I walk in, and I look at her, and she's smiling at me, and I'm like, "How do you do this? Like, how do you take care of these children, look after the house, and the pets, and do all these things while I'm gone?" And she looks at me and smiles. She goes, "Super easy." I'm like, "Really?" She goes, "Yes. You have life insurance. I pretend you're dead the whole time. I'm rich
Yeah, right.
and I'm happy, and I'm a little sad you're gone.
Yeah,
But
right.
then when you walk in, I'm a little sad because I'm not rich anymore.
She's
But I
disappointed.
but I get to see you again,
Oh,
and I
that's so
and I
funny.
get to go about, and that's the truth. That's the true story.
I love that.
So like for my goat hunt, I can remember her coming in with a piece of paper, going, "Hey, would you sign this?" I'm like, "Sure. What is it?" Because I was signing crap all the time because we were running a business together. She goes, "Oh, that's just your life insurance. I increased your life insurance
Nice.
before the." I'm like, oh, okay,
I got it.
yeah. I was looking
Uh,
for a pool boy clause in there, like,
yeah,
"Hey,
right.
you getting enough money here to get like a pool boy, or what's the deal?" But
That's so
so
funny.
yeah,
That's cool, man. That's great. Let's transition a little bit to talk about the gear that you have laying behind you.
yeah, sure,
You're a longbow guy. Why the
yeah.
longbow? Talk
Uh,
to the listeners about why the longbow.
the simplicity of a longbow for me. I went on a hunt and had a recurve and twisted a limb on a hunt. I mean, you can still do that with a longbow, but for me, the simplicity of the equipment, the challenge of it. Stringing a longbow to me is so much easier than stringing a recurve. It's the push pull method to string it. Not all, but most of my animals that I've taken have been with the longbow because of the
Mm.
simplicity. And I just love the way they feel, how they feel in your hand. And it's just been something that I embraced relatively early. Probably 2002 is when I started hunting primarily with the longbow, and it's just a really neat way to approach archery. The simplicity and just the fun of it. Right, I want to grab one of these bows if that's
Yeah,
okay.
please do, man.
And so, competition bow here is this is Twisted Ditch, which is the bow. One of the bows that I shot. I've been shooting lately has been a prototype. So this is. I think we've moved beyond the prototype stage now, and it's got a little G10 in it. It's going to be my target bow.
Mm.
So the bow that I shot in at Lancaster and hunted with for the most part last year was a 68-inch different model of a Twisted Ditch. And Twisted Ditch is just a local bowyer. Tim is an awesome dude. We've been friends for years. And he actually moved to Arizona. And I wanted one of his bows really bad, but I never had one until the last few years. He actually moved back and opened up his shop and got a little more serious about building bows. And he came to me and just said, "Hey, I'd had a couple of failures with bows blowing up on me, and I was a little frustrated. I have a long draw, So he came to me and said, "Hey, let's try to build a competition bow." So we came up with a couple of prototypes, and I gave him feedback, and so we came up. We did the original was a dark fire, which is the one I shot at Lancaster. This one I'm not sure we're gonna call it yet. I like the G10 in it. Mass weight's pretty good. I actually dropped down in bow
That's
weight.
beautiful. Can
So
you show me that? Can you show me the front of that?
sure.
Front of the riser. Yeah, that overlay is beautiful.
Yeah, and that's these are woods that I just kind of adore anyway. I really like red elm, which is what the veneers are. I really like walnut. I think those are just kind of classic looks to a bow. And then having a little bit of G10 in the I-beam and in the handle, mass weight's about 3 pounds. So I find that to be very comfortable to shoot, even 3D, which I'm going to be shooting this for 3D going forward for this year. So I'm going to lay that one down here. And then, so right now I'm in full-blown turkey mode.
Okay.
Dude, right before this, I was outside shooting and a bird was gobbling. So I live in the middle of 160 acres, and I have a blind set up, and I could see a hen. I had my binoculars up, and a bird was hammering right in front of my blind, and I'm like, man, I love Zernzak. I I'm getting because I could have snuck in there. I think.
Yeah, right.
Talk sweet to him.
Hey man, I would have completely understood, dude. I would have completely, and so are all of our viewers and listeners would have understood as well.
You know what? I think there'll be a time and a place for that. I still got a couple of weeks. So
there you go.
This is my current hunting setup.
Okay.
So Longbow and Wood Arrow, and I've got a really I like single blade heads, always have, and so that's just an old grizzly broadhead.
Yep. Let me see the back. Let me see the back end of that arrow a little bit closer.
Yep.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. Those are, I build my hunting arrows for the most part, but these are some leftovers from 3D, and that's a Paul Jalan. Paul Jalan arrow. He builds beautiful arrows. And this is kind of my turkey bow. I didn't grab my other bow, but if you can see this little contraption here, string tracker.
Yep.
Which our buddy Guru, Kurt Cabrera, that he uses those, and I kind of latched onto that through many years ago in trad game. I'm like, hey, that's a good, because I lost a couple of birds. I've killed a bunch of birds, but it wasn't until I got better decoys and understood the string tracker thing that I really, sometimes I don't use a string tracker. I think in Nebraska and when I was in Colorado hunting bariums, I didn't use one, but around here it's kind of a nice thing to have. So just basically a ball of string that you can tie onto the front of your broadhead. And this is a JK Traditions.
Oh yeah.
Canati or Canati, and
man, I had two of those things when he first came out on the scene. I was obsessed with those bows. I had two of them. I had one that looked just like that.
Yeah,
what a great bow.
It's a neat little design. Even for my long draw, I feel like I get to full draw, and I don't have it too heavy. I think that is 42 pounds at my draw. And it may end up being what I hunt whitetails with this year, because I'm doing more saddle hunting. I'm more mobile than I ever have been. And last year hunting, both my deer came with a saddle, but a 68-inch bow very doable. I mean, obviously I killed 2 good whitetails with it, but the second one I had to go over the top of the bridge to be able to get turned to be able to make a shot. So having a little shorter bow, and then turkey hunting, I like having them because some of those blinds, I build these hay bale blinds that are fairly tight quarters. I've killed several deer out of them and lots of turkeys, but having a little bit shorter setup is kind of nice.
Yeah. So what are you going to go to for your whitetail setup then for this year? Is what length do you know?
I may just shoot the 60-inch bow. I mean, I have I actually shoot, if you can see. I'll put it up here where you can see it. But I've got a crawl.
Yeah.
So I'll bump up against the knock at 20 down here, and I hold underneath the knock at 30. Typically, whitetail hunting, I'm not going to shoot past 25 yards. I'm going to handicap myself in the fact that a lot of things can happen with a whitetail past 25 yards. It's just
Dude, I love hearing you say that, man. I love it. I love it so
I
much,
want
especially
everything
with how
close.
many with how many deer you've killed and how many slammers you've killed. Like to hear you say that is just, I think there's just such a misconception out there. People are they're watching videos, and I know I'm part of the problem by putting long distance shooting videos out there and stuff, and you're
Sure.
holding decent groups and everything. But like what people don't realize is I hate shooting at whitetails past 20 yards. I hate it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I want them at
Well,
12 and 14.
oh yeah, for sure. And the two best whitetails I've ever killed. One was at 8 yards on the ground in a ghillie suit, and one was at like 12 yards out of a little two-section ladder with honeysuckle all around me. So the two best whitetails I've killed were inside 20. So I also view that as part of the game because if I'm having to shoot 30 and 35 yards as an animal, I didn't do my job. I didn't put myself in a situation where I'm gonna, have that close encounter. So I typically try to hunt edge cover, so I want to be next to the thicket. The whitetails are edge animals, and I don't want a 35-yard shot at a whitetail. I
Mm-hmm.
want them up close and personal. And I will stretch it out. Western hunting for elk, 35. I actually tune a carbon a lot of times for that, or mule deer, same thing. Because bigger vitals, you have to give up something. Of course, I'm not going to shoot an alert animal. I think there's a strategy to where you know what your limits are. And one of my axioms for when I talk about deer hunting is a man's got to know his limitations. And if you're shooting past 25 yards at whitetails, you're probably with our equipment especially, you're probably not playing the game like you should be. You should
Mm-hmm.
be putting yourself in situations where you have a 12-yard shot, not a 25-yard shot. And it only takes a couple of bad outcomes for a guy to say, man, there are a lot of things that can happen. The reaction time of a whitetail, if you think about Texas, how they react, they've got the matrix deer down there where their
Oh
bellies
yeah.
hit the ground, and then, our whitetails are not so jumpy. And I've still had situations where I know that arrow was right there and they jumped the string. So you have to have a mindset of I want to hunt closer. I want to make sure that I'm in a situation where when they get inside that red zone of 20 yards, that deer is dead. There's no debate. Then it becomes either you're going to count coup or you're going to kill that animal.
Right.
And there's something to be said for that as well. For me hunting, if I have a couple of bucks last year that came in and man, I wanted to kill them so bad, but I knew that they were younger deer, and for the grip and grins, it would have been cool having a 150-inch deer. But also look at it and just say, I'll count coup on him. He read the script.
Right.
I gave him the script. He read it. He used the trail that I needed him to use. It just wasn't the deer I wanted to shoot. And I think that's a good thing because it allows you to say, hey, my mind, what I did here worked. Like I feathered in, I hinge cut a little bit to feather this trail closer to me, or I waited until the wind was a certain way, and I knew that when he was going to come to the bedding area, he was going to use that trail. And the game is the game, and if you kill one or not, if they walk down the trail that you pick for them to walk on, that's a win,
That's
buddy.
a win, man. That's a
That's a
win.
win.
I love
Yeah,
it.
you can
I'm
chalk that up as a W.
I'm gonna pop onto my phone here real quick to cue you up
Sure.
on another question, because while we were at the boot camp, I took a picture of your station,
Hmm.
and you had a whiteboard there, which I
Yeah.
thought was really cool. And I'm trying to find the image. There it is, right there. So I'm gonna airdrop this to my Mac real quick. Gosh, I love the Mac ecosystem, dude. It's so good. It's so
Yeah.
good. Let me see here. There it is. All right.
I'm gonna
So
put
yeah,
glasses on.
so the cool thing about the boot camp that I'm seeing this trend, and I'm sure you're loving it as well, is that like historically it's been viewed as this bare bow boot camp, right? To where it's like
Hmm.
all about competition archery. But year over year, there's more and more bow hunters coming, and they're all they're doing is bringing their bow hunting rigs with them, and they're coming to
Yeah.
learn how to shoot, learn how to control their mental game, get some biomechanics training. And then now this year, like you were specifically there to talk bow hunting with these guys. And it was just so
Yeah.
cool to like, you walk up past like Matty Yaka and you had Paul Helms and Joel Turner and Tom Klum. And most of those guys around them had barebow rigs with them. Like their whole crowd was competitive archers trying to take their game to the next level. You though, every person that was gathered around you and your sessions, it was like the Ranger Green, Coyote Brown wearing guys with their bow quivers on and stuff. And they were like, there's the bow hunters over there with Davenport. And you had this
I love
cool,
it.
yeah, it was super cool. So here is the whiteboard. Here's the image of the whiteboard that you had.
Oh yeah.
And so
3 nevers and 3 always.
3 nevers and 3 always to bow hunting. So let's step down through these. And guys, if you're listening to this on the audio version, we have the video version here. We're sharing our screens. We're sharing pictures, videos, all kinds of good stuff. So make sure to come check us out on YouTube. But go ahead, Mike. Dive into these.
Yeah, so the one thing is, the only absolute are there are no absolutes. But in whitetail hunting, there are 3 nevers and 3 always.
I love that.
And the first is never hunt a good spot with a bad wind. So you're never going to go hunt an area where the wind's blowing into the bedding area. And when people say, well, what about your bad spots? I just say, I don't have bad spots.
I love that.
I'm never going to hunt a good spot with a bad wind. The other thing is never shoot, outside your effective range. You just cannot do that. You have to have some discipline. And you have to say, I would rather let that animal walk than gut shoot him and never find him and feed the coyotes. So you'll regret it. So never shoot outside your effective range. And each person has their own effective range. And it may be 15 yards. If you're a beginner, that may be it. But my self-imposed whitetail range is 25 and in. I just will not do it. There's just too many bad things that can happen. Could I make a 30-yard shot? Yeah, probably. But I could also wound a buck that I've been hunting for 4 years and never find him, and I'm not willing to risk that.
I love that, dude.
Never not have an entry and exit. You better have a way to get in and better have a way to get out, and it may not be a direct route. So you're going to use a ditch, you're going to use a waterway, you're going to make a big loop. You're going to do everything you can to not educate the deer you're hunting, especially if you only have a few stands to hunt. It only takes 1 or 2 times of a 6.5-year-old doe to get a nose full of you to make you realize how smart they are and how dumb you are. So those are the 3 nevers, and then 3 always are just kind of a play on those. Really, you got to know your wind direction, and you got to know always know your wind direction, always know what it's going to be doing while you're hunting. The weatherman is a liar. That is the easy. I would love to have a profession where I'm only right 30% of the time.
Right.
That and hitting a baseball, you can be 30% of the time, and you're at the top of your field. So I love my baseball friends are out there. Playing,
yeah, right. They're like, screw you, Davenport.
Spoken like a basketball player.
Yeah.
But know wind direction, and then know what they're doing, and don't be afraid to bail. If you start getting the wind starts changing and it starts blowing into your bedding area that you're hunting, bail. Get out of there.
Yep.
Go find something else. The other thing, the second one is tune your broadheads. So the 3 always. The second one is always tune your broadheads. They're going to be different. They're going to fly different. The biggest problem I had this year with Lancaster coming up is that I was still shooting broadheads, and then I would go into my barn and try to shoot the same bow, and it just doesn't work. So you tune your broadheads. They're going to fly different. You're going to have different planing. They may tell you something about your form as well, because you got to shoot with pretty tight form to get broadheads to fly well. And then lastly, the 3 always is always have a backup plan. You may be hunting public ground, and you may get there, and there may be 5 trucks where you're going to be. And if you haven't already pre-planned it, you got to have a plan A, B, and C whenever you're hunting places, because things happen, things change, and you just need to have thought about it ahead of time. We sit around thinking about hunting a lot. Come up with a plan, plan your hunt, and then hunt your plan.
So
that's it.
How many times in a given season would you say that you go in, you set up, and then you're bailing?
5 or 6, sure.
Yeah,
for sure. Last year I spent, I journal a lot. So 212 tree hours last year, and
That's
I
great.
bailed on five, 5 or 6 hunts. I got there and the wind just started tilting, and I didn't like it, and I bailed. Made a big loop and got out of there. And I used the axiom of, not only have I got to think about how I got here, now the wind's changed, I got to think of a way I'm going to get out.
Yeah.
And if you get sloppy and you're hunting the same farms over and over, and your egress, your way to get in and out is you start to compromise on that. What you're going to see is you're not going to have the opportunities that you had. So it has to be some type of wind discipline. Same thing elk hunting. I talked to Tom about this. It's like, thermals are a big deal, which I was able to touch on with some of the students, some of the attendees there at the boot camp. Is you got to think about the wind, and you got to think about thermals. And if you're in mountainous country, they're gonna play a role in how you're gonna hunt. Wind discipline is just really important. Like when I go elk hunting, there's a lot of times where I'm waiting on a thermal downdraft. I'm not going to go up and try to meet the elk coming down if the wind's blowing in their face. But sometimes those lessons are hard lessons to learn, and then sometimes it's like an aha moment. And if I can help people have that aha moment early, like, oh wait, I've been hunting this bedding area wrong. I've been just going in there without any thought of the
Right.
wind. Then all of a sudden success ratios go up, and you start to learn how to play the game a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you mentioned that you're more mobile now than ever. You said that earlier
Yeah.
in the conversation. So, how many times this past season did you get set up and then mid hunt tear down move? Like, do you ever do some micro moving around?
Yeah, I mean there are probably a handful of times. Now I'm very fortunate, and that if I'm hunting new property, I'll do that a lot. So if I've got a farm I got permission on, or some public, I might get set up, and you get all set up, and then you look around, and you just see a pinch point, or you
Mm-hmm.
see deer, like the early part of the day when you have does coming through, or maybe young bucks. You'll see them coming to a pinch point. Yeah, I've bailed, and I'd say this year it's a little bit different this year. Even though I spent a ton of time, I was probably more obsessed this year with a certain whitetail, and unfortunately, the heartbreak. Neighbor got him, and
Mm,
that's just part of the deal. Got both sides, and he's 170-inch deer. It was just one of those deer
damn.
that good on him. He did it the right way, and proud for him. But this year was a little bit different. But I have zero problems moving, and I would say I probably micro moved a handful of times this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Zero problems moving, and I would say I probably micro moved a handful of times this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I try not to be lazy when I get there. Of course, you get all sweated up. You hang your sticks,
Right.
get your platform, you get in your saddle, and you sit there. And then, especially if it's a new property, you go, man, I should set up over there. But you also have to. There is a kick in the nads when you do that, because the minute you move, your initial gut feeling of where the setup is. So I'm a feel shooter, and I'm a feel hunter. If a place feels right, if I'm standing there
Right.
and there's edge cover, and there's a field edge in front of me, and there's a ditch here, and I've got an obstacle behind me, that keeps them from kind of coming in behind me, like a down tree or a big ditch,
Mm-hmm.
which I use that a lot as a setup. I want things at my back that are hard for them to win me. So a lot of times I'm going to be on a ditch, or my favorite is to find a down tree where it cut off a trail, and then I can use that tree to leverage the wind and also use that trail that they're using. Um, so there, you have to, your gut feeling in bow hunting, I think in hunting in general, is something you got to listen to. But I have zero problems with bailing, and I probably did that a handful of times this year
Yeah.
because I was trying to hunt a particular deer outside the box because he was not reading the script. I mean, he was just like staying at 50 and 60 yards at least 3 or 4 times where
Dang.
it's just the cat and mouse of it, which is exciting, man. It's an
Sure.
exciting.
Yeah, I find like with the micro moves and stuff within hunts, I'm always looking at my watch. I'm like, okay, if this wind gusts one more time in the next 10
Yeah.
minutes, I'm
Yes.
moving. And then it
Yeah.
happens and you go, and then it goes back to normal and you're like, okay, the next 10 minutes. I keep giving it
Yeah.
the benefit of the doubt, and then eventually you're just like, F it, dude, I'm down. You
Yeah.
just tear down.
Yeah. And then that's what makes this fun, I think, is also, you have to put all the odds in your favor, and then they have to be unlucky one day.
That's right.
It isn't that you're going to get lucky, it's that they have to get unlucky. A very wise man told me one time, I was hunting a particular deer, and he was just, and then he looks at me and he says, "Hey man, sometimes God works for them." I'm like, I never
That's
thought of it
great.
that way, because I'm like, I need things to happen for me, and then sometimes he just. I know it's happened to you. Last year, I had another nice buck before I killed my second buck come in. He literally, there was a shooting lane, and I don't know if it's some type of quantum mechanics, some kind of quantum energy, but he's coming. He read the script. He's walking the trail. He's at 14 yards, and there's one honeysuckle bush, and all he has to do is step from behind the honeysuckle bush, and he's a dead animal. And I had already gotten up and gotten tension on the string. It was just waiting for him to take that step, and he turned on a dime. I had the wind. I had everything stacked in my favor, and there was something about that opening that he was not interested in walking through, and he turned around and walked the other way. And those are the times where you just say, man, God works for them. He works for them too.
He works
You
for,
know.
dude. I had a hammer buck do that to me this year. Oh my god, there was a big blowdown tree branch that fell and leaned up against a tree, and he's coming in just following the script, and he's ducking his head down, and he's gonna go underneath this tree branch, and when he turns broadside, when he gets under that branch, he's gonna be at less than 12 yards, and he gets
Oh,
down, he puts his head down like this, and he starts raising it up. And he's just looking around, and he just backs out, looks around, and just goes back the way he came. Like
oh
for
no.
no reason. Like literally
That,
no, like the wind was freaking I was bulletproof.
yeah.
It's just he literally did that whole thing to get his head under that thing, and all he needed was like 2 more steps, and he was dead to rights.
Someday they're going to do a study, and they're going to find that we radiate some type of predator energy or pheromone,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they are attuned to it, and somehow they're going to figure it out,
That's
because
right.
there's been too many times where it just, and elk too. I had an elk I was hunting with Colby Cox 2 years ago, and we called it a bull, and that bull was a dead bull. He needed one more step, and he stopped. And we had the wind, we had the terrain, we had everything stacked in our favor, and all that elk had to do was take another step, and I was gonna double lung him, and he did the same thing. So there's something to that. It also makes it very exciting when that
Yeah, it
happens.
does. It does.
You go home and you go,
God
dang man, that
dang
was so close,
it. Damn it.
so close.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome. So tell me about your favorite whitetail story. Give me your favorite whitetail buck
okay,
story.
I'm gonna give you two, because I'm
All
gonna give
right.
you a right-handed one and a left-handed one.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay, so right-handed one was I think
Do I have a picture of it?
yes, it's one of those photos that you showed. I
Which
think
one?
the
I'm gonna.
one where I'm in a ghillie suit, and he's,
Oh, this
yeah,
one right
that
here.
one.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so yeah, that buck's a mid 170s whitetail, and he
What a stud,
I
man.
had played cat and mouse with him for a while, I was shooting right-handed, and I had a down tree on the edge of a bedding cover, and there was an entry and exit scrape right there. And I love entry and exit scrapes in the bedding cover. I think those are money, because as they're coming in to check that scrape, a lot of times they're winding that bedding area. But anyway, down tree, and I knew I couldn't hang a set in there. There was nothing to hang, so I went in with my ghillie suit. I had the perfect wind, a crosswind, what Gina Barry Winslow would call an almost wrong wind for that. There is a difference. There's an almost wrong wind where they feel confident, but you still have the wind. And I knew that buck was around, and I'd had multiple encounters with him. And I went and sat up in my little ghillie suit, and I just went for broke. It was the middle of the rut, and I blind rattled, and I heard a stick break, and looked up, and this monster buck is just walking right to me on a string. So I was able to lay my horns down. It was so cold that day that I had my ghillie suit underneath the heater bodysuit, and I was on the ground, and I just came out of my heater. I just gotten into my heater bodysuit and laid because it was cold as hell, man. And I came out of my little heater bodysuit, had my bow hanging. I was shooting right-handed, and he walked on a string right to me, 8 yards broadside, looking for those two bucks fighting, and I shot him perfect. Dude. And when that happens, and it happens in a way that is just perfect, that I would never have to kill another whitetail after that. I mean, I still want to. I'm still
of course. Don't say that.
But it happened so perfectly, and he crashed, and it was the buck that I wanted to kill. It was a big 6x6
on the ground, called him in.
170s, and you walk up, and of course, from the back they look like they're 15 feet wide, and he's just laying there, and I'm just like, it's surreal. Like, all the whitetails I'd killed, and that was about 10 years ago. So all the whitetails I'd killed, that one was one of those times where, with the longbow in a ghillie suit, off of edge cover, it was perfect.
Dude.
So that's
how'd you hold it? How'd you hold it together for that shot?
I think that it comes back to, of course, as a righty, I competed a lot. I'd won a bunch of ASA tournaments, and we'll get into the tournament side if you'd like to in a second.
Yeah, please. Yep.
I think stress inoculation is a good thing, and I think learning how to let your shot process take over in that, because you only have 4 to 7 seconds in your shot process. So I just tell myself, I'm going to flip the switch here, and the next few seconds is all about me executing the shot. And I probably understood that a little bit. I understand it a whole lot more now. Thanks to a switch to left-handed and working, just all the material things from your channel. I mean, I'm also a student, so I've bought a couple of the modules from you. Tom Clum's thing is awesome form, and then Joel's thing that's in your knowledge base. So. But anyway, I think that's probably, I remember everything about it. I think when you have situations, I never like it when a whitetail hunter tells me, I don't know what happened. The next thing you know, the arrow's gone. That worries me, because I want a conscious takeover of my nervous system. Like, I want to consciously take over whatever physiologic response to stress that I've got. And for that whitetail, I just locked in, and of course, hey, come on, man. It was an 8-yard shot. It wasn't like I was, having to concentrate. I basically gun barreled that arrow into his chest. So it was just one of those shots. My second favorite animal was a lefty shot. And it wasn't, I ran the shot is all I can say.
Do you have a picture of this one?
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think I sent you that one.
Okay.
It isn't as impressive of an animal as it is what occurred with that animal. I've got a skull mount over there, and it was the perfect where I ran the shot like I would a tournament, and it was a buck that was older. I didn't know him. He showed up, but I had a window to get my act together and make the shot. And I'll never forget just telling myself I'm going to run this shot, and I'm going to run it the right way. And that determination factor, as Joel would say, I ramped it up, and the deer came in on a rattle, a blind rattle, and he popped in and read the script and gave me a shot. And it was like a 23-yard shot, broadside, on a licking branch, and I ran my shot, and I ran it from the very beginning to the very end, and watched that arrow disappear in his ribs, and watched him pile up at like 30 yards. And it was just like, that was a good feeling to have total control of your bow shot, and to kill a good whitetail. And I think it was my first lefty. I think it was my first lefty whitetail, I believe. No, my first lefty good buck. I think I'd killed a doe lefty, but it was the first buck. I'd switched over in October. Let's see, I went elk hunting right-handed in September, and then switched over and spent the whole month of October learning to shoot left-handed. And then I had I just took to it, and I shot as good left-handed as I did right-handed, so without pain. So,
it was pain the reason why you made the switch?
Yeah, it was a combination of things. I tore my labrum in jiu-jitsu, and I developed a click in my shoulder. So every time I would draw the bow, my shoulder would click, and then it would hurt. At full draw, I would get pain. And what happened was I actually developed target panic, because I was drawing the bow right-handed, and right before that thing would click, I would dump the string, because I knew it was going to hurt. And so it became this almost flint shot that, I just didn't like it. I figured I could switch left-handed pretty easily, because I was left-eye dominant and left-footed. I kicked, like for Muay Thai, I always kicked harder left-footed, so I'm more of a left-foot dominant. So it really wasn't a hard switch for me. It was actually pretty seamless. I mean, I know I'm lucky in that regard.
It sounds like you had a built-in clicker there. If it wasn't painful, you could have just ran with it.
Yes, except it's just like anybody else running a sear. You start to anticipate the sear, right? And you have to learn how to be mentally tough and get through that anticipation, and just total concentration goes on it. But unfortunately for me, the minute that thing clicked, I had pain. So
right.
It became this a negative, a negative response, and so it developed this. So then I actually set up a limb clicker where it would click before my shoulder clicked. But my alignment was all jacked up, elbow was way out. So switching to left-handed, there's one other whitetail that I shot that, there's been a bunch that I'm just so proud of, because it worked out well. But I had my buddy Monty Browning here with me, and Monty, we had this buck I knew so well. He had a drop tine, and he's just a stud of a buck. And I had another friend here. He's from Pennsylvania. His name's Jack Palou. He's a wildlife artist. Does some amazing Native American artwork.
Yes.
They were both in camp, and they were staying in my barn. They're like two of my hunting mentors and heroes. And I was fortunate enough to put them both on good whitetails. Their best whitetails came whenever I put them in a situation where the deer read the script, and it's been beautiful. But this buck I knew really well, and Jack had tagged out and was going back to Pennsylvania, and I had this buck in a thicket. I knew that he was going to come south, because he had a doe, and he'd had the doe for 24 hours. And I just gambled, and I sent Monty a text and said, I'm either going to blow him out of here or I'm going to kill him. And he said, his reply was classic Monty. It was, we'll kill him then, And so I went in and hunted a little two-section ladder stand in honeysuckle, with the idea that he would be looking for a doe, and did some blind. I saw a doe being chased in the thicket, and did some blind rattling, and she come popping out, and this behemoth buck, which you've got a photo of, came to the horns and gave me just a chip shot, and just an unbelievable experience to have that much history. Not that one. It's one where I'm in just Flannel. Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah.
Dude, what a freaking stud buck.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
and to have the history with that deer, and to have his sheds. I thought that deer was dead. I thought he had died from EHD because I lost him for a whole year. I found his sheds 3 miles from where I killed him, and it was a situation where I had to gamble and I had to think outside the box to make it happen. And I think when you do that and it works out, it just adds to the story of what happened with that deer. And the shot was anticlimactic, probably a 12, 14-yard shot. Came into horns that, but the thing that I understood the deer's behavior because I knew he'd be looking for a doe, and he'd picked up another doe, and I knew there were only like 3 or 4 little spots he would probably go to, and I just had the right wind. I needed a north wind, and I got a north wind, and I'm like, I'm going to go hunt that one little 3-acre patch of timber, and he was in there, and it worked out. And then, to have Monty here with me that's probably the highest scoring whitetail I've ever shot. So, and he's a 6.5-year-old tank,
He's a stud, dude.
just to have him here with me, and for the deer to play the game, and me to gamble and think outside the box, and for all that to kind of come to fruition, was one of my favorite hunts. Probably the 2 most important hunts were the one where I shot right-handed off the bucket, on the ground, and then the other, because that was outside the box too, and allowing myself to think outside the box when it comes to whitetails, and then the one left-handed where I kind of pressure tested my left-handed shooting and said, okay, I'm a lefty now, and then obviously this whitetail was, 180 something inch. I never put anything in a book. I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it, but that one would definitely make the book.
Yeah. That's awesome. So, and you did a lot of writing. I didn't realize this, but you did a lot of writing for TBM and some other publications.
Yeah, I think I wrote 7 or 8 features for TBM, and then I wrote lots of others, but some for Compton and some for the PBS. But when you're a young guy, I think TBM, it came out. Traditional Bowhunter came out in 1988, which is right in the throes of my whitetail addiction. I was 18 then, and I was totally obsessed. And I remember reading those articles, and being, although I did hunt with compounds in college, it never left me that there were actually people out there that were hunting all different types of game animals with a stick bow. And I just so I wanted to write for them, and Dr. Don Thomas, who was the co-editor at the time. I always liked him. Always loved his books. He's such a phenomenal writer. He tells
Have Bow Will Travels, like one of my favorite bow hunting books.
Yeah, Double Helix. I mean, you can just go down, and Dr. Thomas is just a phenomenal. He's had phenomenal experiences, and as a bow hunter, I would see, I look at that and go, gosh, he's done so much more stuff. I'm a little bit whitetail tilted and obsessed, but he's the guy's just, and he writes so beautifully. And then somebody like Flip Pallett, as a kid growing up and watching Walker K Chronicles. And here, it was just about fly fishing, but the ability to tell, he could turn a phrase. He knew how to say and build up. He could crescendo his description to where you were ready for him to catch that tarpon. And Dr. Thomas did that as well. He does a very good job of telling the story, and what Monty would say, painting the picture.
Yeah.
So writing has always been something I like. I think that unfortunately and fortunately, these are different times and people don't read as much printed stuff. But we're lucky we have people like you, and we have people like Dalton that are telling stories from video production perspective. And it's not, what I love about what you guys do is it is more about you do tell a story. And it is something that is important. And you've inspired me. I think I'm going to try to do some of that. And
are you?
Try to
film this stuff?
Yeah, I think if I could do it in a simple way, listen. First and foremost, I'm not a technology guy. Like, I'm just not. The fact that I'm talking to you on an iPhone blows my mind. There's
Yeah,
a
right.
reason I don't have.
Right.
There's a reason why I shoot an old longbow and wood arrows, right? I mean, it's simplicity. But we talked about this at boot camp. It was you can run a couple of GoPros. This year I did run a GoPro for the first time in my life. I ran a GoPro and got my shot. I had my friend Jacob Sandberg here. He's a professional hunter in Denmark. He was here with me, and I'm the worst thing ever, man. I'm trying to help a guy kill his first whitetail, and I end up killing a whitetail 150 yards from him. It's like I'm the
Right.
worst guide ever. But I did have my GoPro going. Of course, I don't. It was first
Yeah.
light when I shot him, and it just wasn't great video.
I'm
But
I'm gonna send you this. This is a document that we send out to anybody that's willing and wanting additional information on how to capture footage, how to tell a story for video hunting. So we have
yeah, that's great.
we have an open source YouTube channel. So anybody that's listening to this or watching this, if you're interested in filming your hunts and you just don't know where to start, shoot us an email at thepusharchery@gmail.com. I'll send you over this document. It gives you tips and tricks on like how to tell a story, how to film, what type of camera gear to use, how to organize your footage and everything. And then editing is the biggest issue that people have. Like that's just such a
Yeah,
huge undertaking to actually take this effort that you did to capture all this footage and then make it look pretty and tie the story together. So we all offer that. So we basically take in this footage, we tell you how to transfer the files to us. We'll edit it up and we'll put it on our channel and showcase it for anybody that's wanting to showcase their hunt, their story, and put their effort to good use. So, yeah, dude,
super
that's cool.
cool. Yeah,
That's really cool to hear, man.
yeah. I think you can tell. I mean, I've watched enough outdoor TV and seen the videos. I think there's a way to do it in a way that is respectful to the animal and
100%.
respectful to the nature of the hunt. And I think it would be it would be another challenge, another layer of challenge. Because I know, like our friend Kirk Cabrera. I mean, he's passed up deer, you know, that he wouldn't shoot because he didn't have the video. And I respect that in a lot of ways because what they're doing is you're adding another degree of difficulty
Yep.
to something, and I respect that. I
Yeah,
don't know if I would
it's
have it.
crazy.
I don't know if I'd have the cojones to let to be here and to have a big buck. I probably
No,
wouldn't.
no, just push that camera aside
You
and
would probably just get a
go.
lot of heavy breathing
Yeah.
and be standing over him later. But that'd be
Yeah.
about it. But
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit at boot camp. It's like with a story or an article in a magazine, it's like, yeah, can you really tell a story in 2,000 words or less?
yeah,
Where the
yeah,
nice cool thing about YouTube and the popularity of YouTube is like even the outdoor channel, your spot it's a 20-minute spot for
hmm
that particular TV episode of aired hunting footage. And
right,
for YouTube, like if you have a story and it's an hour and a half long, like you can make your story your video as long as you need to tell your
yeah,
story properly. And that's what I love. I
yeah,
mean, some of these long form hunting videos like from Seek One and stuff are, they're
hmm
45 minutes, hour and 15 minutes long, and they're just awesome. I love them.
yeah. Well, we waste enough time. I waste enough time doing dumb stuff. If there's a good quality video that I can enjoy, I'm gonna do it. I don't watch TV. Like I can't tell you the last time my TV was on,
Yep.
but I'm on YouTube all the time
Yeah,
looking at stuff.
exactly.
I
Exactly.
mean, that's just part of. I think being able to tell the story is an important part of the videography, and I respect people who can get that part right. Because it's really more, as we've hit on already. It's really more than just the grip and grins at the end.
Hmm.
It's everything that went into it.
Yeah.
So I love to hear those things because it gets you there with them.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
the greatest thing writing a nice hunting article. When people come up to me and they say, "I felt like I was there with you," that is the biggest compliment you could get. When you're explaining your emotions and you're explaining, you're trying to again paint the picture of so that other people see. I think that's the niche, right? That's the hook if other people can buy in and go, man, I really felt like I was there. And that's a big compliment. When I write something and somebody says that, I'm like, oh man, that's
Oh
just
yeah.
like the best compliment ever. And maybe only 5 people read the article, but it's like,
Yeah,
if
right.
one of them says, dude, I felt like I was
Yeah,
right there. It
that's
makes you feel
amazing.
good. Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about Lancaster.
Yeah.
You up for that? So
Sure, man. Love
yeah,
it.
so let's talk about why, from a high level, why did you get into competing? Like, why are you even spending the time doing that?
Yeah. For me, it's all about that 5 to 7 second, um,
Oh, look at
process.
that guy! Look at this guy.
Yeah. Look at that. I'm a
Share,
little bit
I'm
of a hefty lefty there, man. I was noticing. I think that camera put on 20 pounds. I've
you
been
look
working
bulked
out.
though. You do look bulked in this little thing. Yeah.
I was heavy. I've been lifting pretty hard, but I realize that maybe flexibility and maybe slimming up my waistline would help. But no, man. Really working on your how you approach a tournament is no different than a big whitetail walking in. You got 5 to 7 seconds. You have to run your shot. And the beauty of competing is you go to a tournament like Lancaster, and you're gonna run like 60 of those shots,
Oh baby, yep.
and they're gonna be pressure, and you're gonna have to learn how to deal with the pressure. And pressure is something that we invent. It's there's no difference, but learning how to navigate through that pressure. And for me, it's like embracing it. Like when I'm at that tournament and my knees are knocking and my heart rate's up, I'm like, yeah, that's what I came for.
That's right.
I came for this.
Me
I
too.
didn't come here to stand here like a bump on a log and shoot shot after shot. No, I came here for that physiologic response to psychological stress,
I love it.
and you learn to navigate that and embrace it. And when you do that, it makes your hunting so much better. Like when you know that when that whitetail steps inside that 25-yard self-imposed limit, he's dead. There's no doubt. And as I love when Joel says, hope is a plucking bitch, right? Uh, there is no hope.
Yep.
When he's inside that, something is going to have to happen. He's going to have that quantum physics feel of that predator and turn and leave, or I'm going to kill this animal. And it's a good feeling knowing you have that type of shot control. And I think tournament archery is so underrated when it comes to how it prepares you for that moment. And I was even one of those skeptics. I shot 3D some, but until I started shooting indoors in like 2022 or three, I didn't realize how important that is. You're getting high quality reps and you're getting pressure reps,
Mm-hmm.
and your brain is uploading that information in a level that we don't even comprehend. And when you can perform under pressure, there you can perform under pressure with a big whitetail in front of you.
Oh,
It's
100%.
not much different.
Dude, and you do it like just signing up, just paying your, with practice and everything like that. It's going to be like $180 to join
Yeah.
Lancaster for the weekend.
Yeah.
And you're guaranteed 60 high pressure arrows. 60.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a
Yeah.
lifetime of bow hunting for some people.
Sure. And you're getting those pressure reps. You're getting that stress inoculation. And not only that, I mean, you take into the fact that tournament to me is just it's so much about all the guys you hadn't seen since last year,
Yep.
and all the people that you have this tribe mentality. You're seeing these folks, and you're all in this together. You're all crazy enough to brave Pennsylvania weather.
You're all shitting bricks at the same time,
Yeah.
man.
Oh yeah. You're all. I don't care what anyone says.
Yeah.
You're feeling those nerves, and where else can you get that? And the tournament itself, for me, when Mr. Rob added Longbow, it just like it validated what I think is a beautiful form of archery for us, and I hope it continues. I hope that more people sign up and more people sign up because he gave us a platform. Ooh, that's an ugly arrow. Man, I'd love to talk about those two matches with you right there.
Let's go. That's why I put it up on the screen. So I have Mike's 2 matches on the final stage from Lancaster, just playing in the background. We have an ad going right now, of course.
Okay. All right. So,
but go ahead. Yeah, let's just roll into it.
first off, the lead up to that was I had I had I have to be honest with myself and everyone else. I was probably not prepared for Lancaster because I had hunted so hard, and I just could not make myself go indoors. I was just so obsessed with hunting whitetails that
Dude, that is like the struggle every single year, dude. It's
it
like
really is.
I never pick up my bear. Not this past season, this past year, I actually like I went to Europe in the middle of November, which was a terrible
Yeah.
idea from a bow hunting perspective. But like when I got back, I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna keep the bear bow out. I'm gonna start training because every year prior to that, I don't pick up my until like January 5th,
Yeah.
and then that's when I start. So
Yeah, yeah, same thing for me. I was I think I killed my second buck. Illinois is a 2 buck state, so I killed my second buck the second week of December, and then all of a sudden it was like, you know what? I got to start thinking that Lancaster's a month away, and so I did go and shoot. I went with Hudson and those guys. We went and shot in Indy at the indoor there, the Rumble and the Rushmore Rumble, which was in Indy, which was kind of weird, but kind of cool too. But I did shoot that tournament before Lancaster, so I had an idea where I was in my. I definitely did not have what I consider my A game going there, and I knew that going there. But I felt like my whole goal was to qualify and get to the head to heads, and then once I get to head to heads, I feel like that is so much fun to do. So I ended up qualifying middle of the pack. So of the 16, I think I was either 7 or 8, and made it through my first match. And I don't know who designed this bracket, but I got nothing but Danes to the final. Like
you're the
I
Dane
got a
killer.
Dane right out of the gate who's a really cool guy, and we shot a pretty close match. And then I got the killer, in my opinion, the best longbow shooter in the world, and Klaas Anderson is just a wonderful human being and a good friend. We've been friends since Slovenia. I made the world team last year, and he made the world team for his country. So, I didn't have my A game, and I could feel it during qualification, but I felt like once I got to head to heads that I would be okay, and I was. I got the first Dane out of the way. Awesome shot, cool guy. I got to class, and same thing. We love each other. I just think the world of that guy, and I even apologized to him, like, man, I should have done better. I should have done better. Like I should have
So
been.
you guys didn't meet in the eliminations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I wanted. I mean, you asked him. We want to be. We like each other, but we want to beat each other's brains out. I mean, we want to win. So I wanted to do it in the final, but it really came down to one arrow, and neither one of us had a great match. We both shot what I would consider under our standard. I'm sure nerves definitely played a role in it because you're shooting against. I feel like I'm shooting against the best. I mean, he's a really phenomenal bow shot and has proven it time and time again, and since then proven it. He'd shot a 540 in qualifying, which is a big number. I haven't hit a 540 yet. I'm in my
It's
best
a
is like a
monster number,
538.
dude.
Yeah,
Monster
yeah.
number.
I think in the USA Nationals last year I was a 532. But we were going back and forth. He and I. He broke the Danish record with a 531, and literally the next day I reset the USA record, which is a little bit of a dubious honor because we all know that a certain John Demmer has shot better. And before I even asked to enter the record, I text John and said, John, look, I know you've shot better than this, but I wanted a benchmark for everybody else because USA Archery allowed longbow to be part of the indoor record book, and I wanted to set a benchmark, and I want somebody to break it. I want to break it. But anyway, I contacted John, and he's like, go for it, man. Because his record was in modern longbow, but he had done it with Woodbow and Wood Arrows, and it was some phenomenal, crazy, like a 1080 or something. But
Nuts.
anyway, getting back to Lancaster, going through my match with Anderson was a blessing, and I look at it like that. Either one of us could have moved on, and then I get another Dane. I get Mads here. You see him on the screen. He's a killer. He just won their indoor national tournament, and I think he beat Klaas in a head-to-head match. So I got some fortuitous bounce. He had an M, and I shot one in the gold. I think I did not feel comfortable up there.
Yeah, tell me. I want to hear about like what did that feel
Yes,
like? Like compare that to like being in the red zone of a whitetail
yeah.
compared to like being right there. That
I,
shot right
I,
there.
I'll do better than that. I've been charged by a perfectly good silver-tip grizzly in British Columbia, and there's a fight or flight response your body goes through. Now, I wasn't nervous to talk to PJ. I wasn't nervous to talk to Mr. Rob. I wasn't nervous to talk, but my shot was increasingly nervous, and it's hard for me to watch the video because I see what I'm doing wrong, and I
I'm
want to
sure.
slap myself upside the head. I was bracing. I was bracing for the shot. Elbow was higher, and now actually that helps me though because now I can play that video in my head. I can play that highlight reel and go, okay, I know what I'm doing wrong here. And
Mm-hmm.
self-diagnosis with your shot is half the battle. But facing Mads was one of the funnest things I've ever done. I had more fun up there just from knowing that it's the pinnacle of what we get to do with longbow, and I'm right in the middle of it. And we all want to win. I wanted to win that championship, but at the same time, I was just happy to be there, given the fact that my game wasn't where it should have been, and to make it that far. And you get lucky. You shoot against class in a head-to-head, one arrow shoot off, and you win that. You just move on and tip your cap, and then to go to the stage and then to shoot, up there with all those lights. And I know Zernzak's in the booth, and he's probably,
Talking shit.
you have all these things that are happening, the lights and the sounds, and just the magic of what that tournament is, and it's addictive. Like I'm already thinking about it.
You ready to rock for next year?
Oh, dude, I'm already because it was so much fun. Like we just don't. You can't really. I'm not going to be able to articulate the emotions that I felt being there, and then also moving on to the final to face one of the coolest guys on the planet. I mean, just solid. We were in the back. We were both shooting, in the green room, and neither one of us were. I mean, both of us were shooting like garbage in the green room, and I think I had this thought of like saying, listen, let's just try to keep it on paper. It's just because one little hiccup with that equipment, there's just no
Right.
There's just no forgiveness in the equipment, and you got to break a good shot every single time to keep it in the gold. Just facing that guy was so much fun.
Yeah,
and
Todd
even though I
Hathaway is
lost,
a beast, man.
Todd is one of the nicest guys you'd ever meet, and I had no idea until I heard your podcast how incredibly technical that guy is.
I know,
with his equipment,
dude. Seriously, like I was in the back talking to him like before every the competition started. I'm getting my notes and stuff, color commentary, and he starts telling me some stuff, and I'm like, oh, you're coming on the podcast, dude.
Yeah.
Like, win, lose, or
I-
draw, you're coming on the podcast. I got to talk
and
to
it
you.
makes a knuckle dragger like me, whose arrows aren't straight and who's shooting a prototype bow. It humbles me a little bit because I'm like, man, maybe I need to start paying attention to stuff a little closer.
I mean, the dude built a hooter shooter to sort his arrows.
Exactly. So he absolutely whooped my behind, man. I mean, we were, and he shot that 12, and I have to admit something, man. When he shot that 12,
I think it's right here, right? I think so.
Yeah.
I think the 12's called. Yeah. I love the face he makes. Let's watch it real quick. There it is.
Like, oh.
Look at him. He goes, well.
So I kid you not, when he shot that, I turned to look at John, my coach, and John Starks, my USA teammate, and I looked at him and I said, I'm shooting a 12. And I didn't. I shot a garbage shot. But I'm like, if he shot a 12, I'm shooting a freaking 12 because I may get whooped, but that was a great end for him too.
That was a really great end, dude.
That was the backbreaker for it too.
100%. Yeah,
I didn't get discouraged.
After that, it was play catch up. Like you just
see, I tried to shoot a 12 there. I was just off. But I hope that this is fuel for other people too. I think I said that to Mr. Rob too. Is like, man, I hope there are some bow hunters out there that are great shots that are thinking, and it's almost. I love that look. Do you see that look? That little
Yeah, yeah.
brow down look that
Yeah,
he gave.
yeah.
I just hope there's somebody. I hope there are bow hunters out there that see that, and maybe it's good that maybe we didn't tear it up, because maybe there's somebody going, I can beat
I
that.
could do that.
I could that they shot like garbage. I could
Hmm.
do that, So I'm looking forward to this year. I vowed to myself that when my November rutcation is over, that I'm going to make myself shoot indoors, because I want to be ready. You want to be my training, the way I set it up through. I pick 4 or 5 tournaments every year that I'm going to focus on, and I'm going to train with my peak being in those tournaments. Larry Weiss wrote a really cool book. It's called Planning to Peak in Bow Hunting, or Planning to Peak in Archery,
Hmm.
and he talks about mesocycles. And so I have my notebook right now with my first mesocycle is going to be making the USA team with trials. And so I think that if you're gonna compete, the other side of the competition is peaking and having success, and um, planning out your shoot. I trained with a Delta Force guy with another job that I had at one point, and he was, and it was all about shooting pistols, but he was all about, you plan your shoot and you shoot your plan. And I love that, because we would plan out the exercises for the day for shooting, and we would follow that. And it was a program where you're building off that.
Mm,
And then the other mindset thing is 1% better. How
I
can you
love
get
that.
1% better today? And for me, when I plan my mesocycle, so it's usually 6 or 7 weeks, and I want the peak to be there. I might have some tournaments in between there, but those aren't tournaments that I'm necessarily going to say I got to win those tournaments.
Mm.
Because for me, it's about making the world team this year. So in June, so I've got 7 weeks, and I've already got my mesocycle planned out and
Are
how
you
I'm
going
gonna.
for 3D, the 3D team?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So they don't have unfortunately, longbow's not included
Mm,
in field. So I'm gonna go. We have field a USA championship, but we can't make a USA team
got it.
with field. So I'm going to go shoot field because it's fun and it's just more arrows. I get to shoot more arrows, and
Mm.
then I'm going to try to make the world team again, because that experience was second. If Lancaster is number one as far as competition, competing for Team USA was definitely a close second.
Dude, what
Because
don't you do, man? Like that, like you're. I
uh,
think not. I don't want to throw shade or anything like that, but I'm trying to
yeah,
figure out how to say this. But it's just I don't think you get enough credit for what you've done. Like the amount of animals on your wall and how quality they are, plus how high level of a competitor you are, and the things that you've done. Like you've been there, done that, dude. You're like a very impressive
well,
archer,
thank
man.
you. Well, I appreciate that, but I think I'm not a huge self promoter, and I think that I just enjoy it, and whatever happens happens. You have goals and you have things that you want to do, and competition is something that I think we compete at. Everything every day we do is about competition. The reason why Homeo erectus is because we basically competed to be that. And I think competition is great for how your brain views your normal life. I think, and it isn't that you're competing. I'm not competing against you, Matt. I mean, I'm competing against me.
Hmm.
Now, if we got a cheeseburger on the line, if we say, okay, closest to the 11, the guy's
Right.
buying a cheeseburger
Yeah,
or a cold beverage of choice, you ramp up the pressure a little
for
bit.
sure.
And I think competition gives you that way to do that. And of course, I love the fact that I have a room full of animals, and I love the fact that I've won a bunch of stuff with in competition. But I think we compete at everything. You want
Hmm.
to be good at anything you do. You do hard stuff. You want to make sure that your life is fulfilled. I love there was a thing I read about a guy that got to the end of his life, and he's like, I don't want the Undertaker to have a corpse that is beautiful. I want him to have a corpse that is broken and got every ounce of life out of it that he could get. So that's why I do jiu-jitsu. That's why I love to hunt. There's too many things in this world that you could be doing that just will make your life more meaningful. And hunting is one, definitely. Family is another. Your faith, but outside of those, for me, it's just like I love challenging myself.
Me too, dude.
I love putting myself in a situation where I've got to suck it up and I've got to deal.
Yeah.
And there's what's on the other side of that as a human being is remarkable because your brain is this little governor and it wants to tell you what you can't do. Like on a goat hunt, I think I remember I was looking at, we had a climb and my toenails had fallen off. My feet were a mess. It had been a 10-day beat down of climbs. And I remember thinking if I could just get to the next bush. And I had a breakthrough with my brain on that hunt because I looked at that and said, if I could just get to that bush, I'll rest. And then when I got to that bush, I said, nah, not this bush. I'm going to pick another bush. And before long, I'd climbed, 2,000 vertical. And I look back at that, listen to my brain, my little governor that's telling me I can't do something. I would have never climbed this mountain. And it was like this monumental sentinel moment for me because it was like, wait a minute, that's how everything works. You just have to override that governor of discomfort and say, this sucks. And then I have another law that I use. It's called the law of comparable suffering. If you're doing something and it sucks, think about the thing that you've done that sucked the worst. And then you have the law of comparable suffering. You say, okay, this sucks. But does it suck like climbing a mountain with your toenails falling off and, you're miserable and dehydrated? Does it suck like that? Well, no, it doesn't suck like that. Well, then shut up and move forward.
You're recalibrating what's tough. Your
and
toughness
your brain's
barometer.
just going. Your brain just wants to constantly. And I think archery's like that too. You're up there and you're shooting. You got to shoot an arrow, and it's a big arrow, and you're anxious, and your heart rate's up, and your brain's going a million miles, and you have all these all these thoughts start popping in. Learning how to say shut up, run your shot is so important.
It is so important.
Just shut up and run your shot.
Yep.
Look, I have a thing that I do with my shots called flip the switch. And as soon as I flip the switch in my process, I got 5 to 7 seconds of total concentration.
So I love that you're going down this path because I've recently, probably in the last maybe 12 months or so, have adopted something very similar to this, to where so I'm pushing myself hard in the gym every single morning, right? I do hard things. Like you and I are cut from the same cloth. Like the further I can push myself mentally and physically and do the hard things, have those difficult conversations with our loved ones, like I enjoy that. That's where life is, right? On the other side of that, like you're just going to be so much richer and more fulfilled. I am so in on that. But what I've found is like with an archery shot, you dread like your first shot at Lancaster or whatever you're thinking about. You get these like biological symptoms, like you have the fluttering in your chest or your stomach or right. Or you get like these shakes going on, even thinking about it on your drive to Lancaster or thinking about that opportunity. Like, I mean, how many times maybe before you had this mental strength, did you see a deer step out of the bedding area? I've gone through bouts of like target panic and poor shooting to where I would go, oh my God, I hope I don't have to shoot at her. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's been that bad. It's been that bad. I've been in the trenches with my archery, but then I just started like putting myself in these situations as much as possible, going to every tournament I could possibly go to, filming everything that I do and posting whatever happens on YouTube. Creating the keychain challenge has been a big one for me because now I can just hang out at ETAR and I'm nervous. Like literally when I go out and I'm carrying my bow around a course, like I'm kind of looking over my shoulder a little bit. I'm nervous the entire time I'm out there because I'm worried, or at least I used to be. I was worried that somebody was going to challenge me, but now I'm excited for it and I can't wait. And you're the same way, dude. Yeah. One thing I love about you is when we were at the boot camp and here I come, I can see from 50 yards away if somebody is into the pressure and invites the pressure, or if they are a person that tries to avoid it at all cost. The best archers in the world invite the pressure, because I'll
Yeah.
walk up with that GoPro and everybody knows me, right? They know when that GoPro's coming. The internet's going to be watching me shoot this arrow. And I can
Yeah.
see the people that don't invite, they're trying to run away from it. They will do things like they'll leave the group
Yeah.
so they don't have to shoot in front of me and on the video, or they'll stand there and they just like their whole body language changes and they shrink down. You're like, dude, you see me coming, you're like, let's go, man. Let's go. Let's go. You won that awesome head-to-head knockout challenge that we did on those two bucks. That was a lot of fun. We're editing that, and I just watched that segment yesterday. It's cool.
That's what makes it fun, is you're challenging yourself. I'll go live every now and then. I think I did yesterday.
Yeah,
I
you
went
did
live
yesterday, right? Yeah.
just for a brief period, because I get complacent and I want a little more juice, and so I'll turn live on and shoot a cold. Like yesterday, I shot 2 cold 5s and it was just like, but it's good. But it's good to feel that.
You feel it,
because when you invite that pressure in, you treat it like a friend, right? You say, "Oh man, it's here." You know, and the more you do it, and you know this now, with what you do and the journey you've been on, you go from the lowest of lows of hoping that deer doesn't walk up to when you see that deer now, you're saying, "I'm killing that deer."
Yeah, you're effed.
Yeah.
Don't step past that tree or you're done, buddy.
You get in this red zone, it's over.
That's right, absolutely.
And I think that shows growth, and and I hope that everybody gets to experience that as an archer, is to want that pressure,
I'm with you, man. I think it takes reps, it takes practice. Like, you want to get fit, you want to learn a biomechanics movement, right? Like a sports movement. Like, it takes repetitions, and so does the mental side. Like you can't sit here and shoot in your backyard and avoid pressure and avoid shooting in front of people and avoid putting your score on a scorecard at your league night and be that guy, right?
Yeah.
And then expect to be able to control your shit when a deer is standing in front of you this fall.
Yeah.
Like,
that's right.
Like, if the only time you're experiencing that biological adrenaline dump when you have a bow in your hand is the 3 to 4 times that you're drawing on a live animal, and that's the only reps you get, now you have to wait 12 more months before you're going to get that again. Like, go to competitions, go live on Facebook, shoot in front of people, invite that pressure in. And I started down that thought path. I kind of got sidetracked talking about the keychain challenge and videoing and stuff, but the 5 to 7 seconds thing is so important to me, because you can literally do anything through hardening your body and hardening your mental game. You can do anything for 5 to 7 seconds. Like, truly think about that. Like, if somebody had a hot iron, right, and it was scalding hot, and they say, I'm going to, whatever the outcome is, but they're going to put it on your arm for 5 seconds. Like, you could get through that, right? You can get through that moment. It's only 5 seconds. And honestly, that's part of my shot mantra now, is what I'm stepping up on the line. I'm go, okay, full concentration for 5 seconds. Here we go.
Yeah.
Like, it's 5 seconds. You just got to put it all in for 5 seconds.
Yep, and learning how to separate that and say, okay, my total concentration for X amount of time. And I think that, and the other thing that I think is important is to visualize what you're doing. And so many times we visualize the result. That's not what we should be visualizing. We visualize and we actualize how we shoot the shot. Yeah, we want to visualize it hitting the X at Lancaster to win it. But really what we ought to be visualizing, and it ought to be a camera angle that you're seeing in your brain from all different angles of you shooting the perfect bow shot, 100% under control. Because if you take care of that part of it, the end result takes care of itself. So that 5 to 7 seconds we're talking about is played in a highlight reel in my head of what that shot actually looks like. And then if I'm visualizing the shot, I try not to visualize even the result. I visualize and I feel my back tension as my fingers slip off the string. And that's where the gains are as far as a competitive archer, is being able to do that 60 times in a tournament or whatever it is. And then, having that mindset of, I'm going to stay in the buggy. That's one of the things I tell myself
Yeah, dude, I
is,
heard you say that for the first time at the boot camp, staying in the
yeah,
buggy.
stay in the buggy, man. Like, there are times where you get your aim and it just doesn't, you're not there yet. And you just have to ride that out. That's why we have this variance of 5 to 7 seconds or whatever it is. And then there is a point where there are times I'll let down. I'll just, it's not there. I don't have it. And having that control of being able to let down is one of the hardest things to do as an archer. And if I yip, I don't always let down. So if you get a little, that first sight picture that you get, and your brain goes, shoot it. And if you fight through that, what Joel calls weathering the storm, if you weather the storm, and for me, it's weather the storm. At times, I'm going to weather the storm, stay in my back, and make the shot. But then there are times where your brain will stall out your process. And for me, it's the back end of the shot. That's where if I hold too long, I'll start to lose concentration. That's one of the things I'm working on, is the back end of that shot.
Mm.
So there's a drill, draw, hold, shoot, where you draw the bow, you go through your process, you get your aim, and then you just say, I ain't shooting it. I'm good right here. I'm going to enjoy the aim. I'm going to watch this aim, and I shoot when I want to, not when I have to. And if it ever gets too long, I'll let down. But a lot of times I'll stay in the aim a little extra longer to reinforce that idea that I'm in control of that shot.
I love that.
And there's a way to do that. And I think that Matt Hudson, kind of clued me into that, and I started doing that. And that it isn't necessarily a physical exercise; it's a mental exercise because it's very similar to when you have a big buck walk in. You draw the bow and you aim, but he does something, his body mechanics change, or he scratches his ear. You just don't have it. So you have to be able to mentally stay in the aim and hold everything, keep your tension up, and then shoot the shot. So there's a complementary opposite there. You get this training where you're doing extra longer holds and then shooting the shot. Not a draw hold where you let down, but you're holding that aim a little longer and you say, no, I'm not shooting it. And then you say, okay, I'm going to shoot it now. And then you start your back tension and break your shot. So I think that's a good exercise for the mental side of things.
I love it.
Yeah.
So tell me how you see, because you're into fitness, right? I see this weight rack back behind you that you clearly threw an couple extra plates back there just to make yourself look strong for the.
Actually, you know what?
I've been waiting to make that joke the entire show.
So those are only 35s with a 25 on it. So I didn't throw any 45s on there. That would have
been so funny if you just stacked that thing full apart. Yeah. Just put a bunch of 45 plates on there.
Yeah. So I think that was yesterday morning's workout. I try to incorporate fitness into. I'm a big guy, obviously, and one of the things that Troy told me, the guide that I had in British Columbia the first time we goat hunted, he says, I see this guy get off the plane, and I'm thinking, man, he's not, doesn't look like he's in very good shape. And then what he figured out about halfway through the hunt is I climb pretty good for a fat guy. Like, he even told me afterwards, he's like, dude, he goes, I had no idea. Like, you're walking on my heels all week. And I'm like, well, genetics play a role in this round belly, but there's nothing wrong with being strong,
Yeah. So how does fitness, jiu-jitsu, also, like, how does that play into not only bow hunting? I think it's really easy to draw the tie to, you can climb mountains, you can go further, right? All that stuff. But specifically about your archery, like, where does doing the hard work every day in the gym, doing jiu-jitsu, like, how does that serve you in your archery?
Well, definitely mindset, because we've hit on the fact that it's hard and it takes discipline. My daily routine is I usually work till midnight. I'm home. I usually get in bed by midnight. I work till 11. I get up at 7. I try to get a workout in, and I have. I think that having a routine and having exercise built into that routine is so vitally important, because from an archery perspective, it's only going to make you better. It's certainly going to hurt you. Like, um, and being strong enough to have stamina when you're doing a 3D course, and you're going to have energy at the end of it is important. And then just knowing that you've included that exercise and as part of your routine to be a better archer, and having good upper body strength and being strong is certainly an asset and not a liability. Jiu-jitsu, I would say that jiu-jitsu, although mentally, is extremely good for the mindset of embracing the suck and learning how to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Being comfortable being uncomfortable is all mindset. It's just surviving. If you're on the bottom, like in jiu-jitsu, if you're on the bottom of a roll and there's a 270-pound guy crushing you, you have to have. There's a mindset of you just have to weather that storm, just like in archery, and you just have to be there and not give in to your first reaction, which is tap and get out of there. And I love the fact that there are mental. It's an art. Archery is 100% a martial art. It was developed because we wanted to hunt animals and we want to stab guys farther away with archery equipment,
Right.
and it's a martial art. And there's just so many positives to fitness and mindset with the art. Now, I would say they're not complementary opposites, jiu-jitsu and archery, because I can't tell you how many tournaments I've gone to on Saturday where I went and rolled on Friday on open mat, and you show up Saturday morning and you realize I'm
Oof.
having a hard time raising my arms above my head,
Right.
but fitness is one of those things. The other thing about fitness too is, that's why I love martial arts. It has really not a lot to do with archery, jiu-jitsu, but I want to be fit enough that I want to be able to help people if I need. If in a situation I had to help somebody, I would be physically able to.
Dude, I would not
Going
F
back
with
to,
you, man.
I just
You're
think that I
you're
won't
a
be able to get my
monster of a
family out of a
dude.
situation. I trained with a guy named Pat McNamara. He's a Delta Force guy, and he's one of the greatest. He was a tier one, the top of the tier one assets that we had. He's retired now, but I trained with him quite a bit, and he said this about fitness. He said there's a rule with fitness. You want to be able to save your own ass. You want to be able to save someone else's ass. You want to be able to kick somebody's ass if they try to hurt you, and you want to be able to get away if you had to get away. And I think fitness is one of those things that is just important. And as I'm getting older, I'm 56 now. I want to be able to be that 70-year-old guy that's still climbing mountains and still punching tags.
Yep.
I don't want to be I see it every day in my profession, where you see these guys that are even younger than me that just their lifestyle, it just sucks. I don't want to be that way. I want them to, when I'm in my 80s, when I didn't come down from a hunt, I want them to go up there and find me like blissfully standing over a grizzly bear or something. I don't,
Right.
I don't know. I think that fitness is one of those things that it helps you in archery so much, because you have to tap into these physical reserves that stress puts on you, and it's good to have it in your back pocket.
Yeah, I think it's like even like those. I always, when I'm in the middle of a set and it's getting hard, like archery's my life, right? And it just I can't help but let my brain go to archery whenever I'm in these like tough mentally and physically taxing moments. And like those last couple reps are like, okay, it's just 5 seconds. Here we go. Just push through, right? And it's like getting that one last rep in is no different than not releasing on the aim. It's no freaking different. It's the same mental skill. You know what I mean? Just being able to like drown out those thoughts, crank the volume on your thinking, and get yourself through it by talking to yourself like, come on, get it.
Yeah,
Right? It's no different. It's no freaking different.
It is. Yes, I'll give you a case in point. Like yesterday, I did my workout down here and pushed myself pretty hard. Because I want to. I have goals, and it's funny how there's just this flow from you're setting the tone with one goal, but it also bleeds over into the other things that you want to do.
100%.
So, I want to make the world team again. I'm getting ready to go shoot. I'm actually leaving after this to go shoot in Louisiana at the ASA, shooting the barebow class with my
Oh,
longbow.
sweet. Nice, dude. Good luck.
Thank you. I want to, it bleeds over. You just mentioned archery and how it, bleeds over into your workouts. I think that, anything you do, it can, even in like business or even like, your decision making, learning how to make those critical decisions under pressure is a good thing.
100%.
And I think there are definitely some parallels with martial arts, with doing what I do for a living, and being in pressure situations there. I'll even use that law of comparable suffering. Like, this, whatever's happening physiologically right now sucks. But, I just took care of a guy yesterday that, had a broken femur and broken ribs and had a hole in his lungs, and I had to call a helicopter. Now, right now this sucks, but that really sucks. He's having the worst day of his life. So it's good to feel alive. It's good to, I think archery and fitness, just there are such good parallels with that. It's only going to make us better. The guy that spoke at the boot camp, what was his name again?
Christian.
Yes.
Christian Williams.
We were sitting there watching his presentation over Archery Fit and understanding his mind body, how the mind body part of things. That guy is phenomenal from a fitness perspective.
Absolutely.
For archers. And that, shameless plug for him, man. If
Archery Strong, Christian Williams.
Archery Strong, that's right. And if you want, if you're out there and you want to learn safe strengthening techniques, I took notes. Like I said, I learned a lot that weekend. I was writing down stuff like, hey, that's a good idea to keep your shoulders down. That's a good idea to build strength in your non-dominant hand, your posture, all those things. So it's a cool thing to do. And I think if more people incorporated fitness into archery, I think it's going to make us a better shot.
Yeah, 100%. Well, dude, I got a hard stop here coming up. I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, man. And I know we could do another 2 hours easy just on hunting stories. And we need to do that. I think the listeners are going to give me some good feedback, or the viewers if you're watching on YouTube. So let's get back so we can get into the dirty details of getting charged by grizzlies. I want to talk about your mountain goat more in detail, and I'm sure you have endless more whitetail tips and tricks for us here. But why don't you let the listeners know where to find you, where they can follow along with what you got going on?
So I'm on InstaShizzle or Instagram there. So it's Wapiti Mike, and you can find me on Facebook just under my name. Those are the two ones that I use. So I like social media. I like interacting with folks. If it has to do with politics or anything besides jiu-jitsu or archery, I'm probably not going to do anything. So if the feed is all jiu-jitsu and archery, it's a pretty good day.
I'm trying to pull up your page here, but it's okay. We'll just leave it go. All right. Awesome, dude. Well, I appreciate it. Man. While you're on the internet checking out Mike's page, head on over to thepusharchery.com. It serves as a portal to the Push Archery Center of Knowledge. Tons of amazing online courses. We talked about a few of them here today. Solid archery, control process shooting, precision tuning for the diehard bow hunter, and many, many more. Also, head on over to the website. It holds our best-in-class Made in America quivers, the Push or the Ridge Runner, the Alpha Pack, and the Delta Pocket Quiver. Appreciate you guys. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this video cast format. If you're on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button. We're closing in on 50,000 subscribers. Let's get there. We'll do a big giveaway once we get there. Mike, appreciate you, buddy.
Thanks, brother.
All right. Get primal.